You will have taken plenty of tests in your school years, exams, tasks to do in the classroom, like solving a puzzle, designing a poster, reporting on an experiment. If your school years are over, there are plenty of tasks in everyday work life. Negotiate that deal, finalize the figures, come up with a solution to any given problem. But how can you judge how demanding a task or a test is? If you're up against some sort of assessment soon, it's good if you can understand just how complex it's going to be. This is what I'm going to show you today. But first, a key word. The cognitive complexity of a task means any demands that a task makes on our mental resources, our attention, our logic, our ability to deal with space, with causes and effects, or with general statements. So what makes a task tough? Well, first, it may have to do with you, your aptitudes or your abilities, your motivation. Do you feel confident or maybe anxious? And then it can simply be how much and how well you've prepared. You may not be good at composition, for instance, but you've practiced and developed techniques for writing composition, so the exam itself becomes doable. But all this doesn't tell us anything about the task itself. There's one issue here. Are you going to do the task alone? If no, who are you going to work together with? Is that someone you know well and work well with? Is it someone about the same level of competence and ability as you? Are both of you on the same level of authority or power, or is the relation not a symmetric one? Also, will you have to negotiate? So will you have to spend time discussing, seeing your partner's point, maybe adjust your own point? Does your problem have one solution, or is it an open task? For instance, finding the shortest route from A to B on a map only has one solution, but deciding on a holiday plan is an open question. According to Robinson, the fewer people involved in the task, the simpler it is to find a solution. The closer your partner is to you, again, the simpler the work will be. The freer the task, the simpler it is. And finally, there is the cognitive complexity of the task, or how much it challenges our brains. Robinson says there's first the procedure of the task. Do you have a time limit? Are you given any support, like using any reference materials, dictionaries, lists? Are you given time to consult these materials, to generate ideas before you have to perform the task itself? Do you have to do more than one thing at a time? For instance, talking on the phone with someone and browsing through your emails on the computer screen? And there's the content itself. How familiar are you with it? How much do you need to process? Do you need to think about causes and effects? Do you need to think about things in motion or in their interdependence with other things? Do you need to draw conclusions for general situations? Here's an example. A speaking test, a presentation. Here you have 1 minute to prepare and the ideas are given. So you'll spend that minute actually only searching for words and connections. Here you have again 1 minute to prepare, but you also need to think of one more idea. And here you have 1 minute to prepare, but you have no input at all. In these three tasks, cognitive complexity is growing because you gradually need to do more than one thing at the same time. Here's another one. You need to describe what this car is made up of. But in this situation, you have to describe how this car runs at 120 miles an hour on a wet road. The first task was static. You just describe a picture. This is no longer like describing a picture, but more like describing a slow motion film where things are moving, and you also need to explain. Robinson proposes that So what do you think of this task? You need to take a large-scale exam together with another candidate that's assigned to you at random. No idea who this candidate will be. And it will be a spoken task. Just how challenging do you think this task is going to be?
Created using Powtoon.